Right, here we go.
It's got to the actual stage.
Okay, Red Pill Phil, Dan, one of the veterans, is getting interviewed by the BBC, so that's what this is.
Of the country siding with one. We are a multicultural society, and we need to bond as a society.
So you just pushed me away there, do you get that?
The other big parties are doing it. It's just not there for the British people. All they're doing is just mass cover-ups, corruption, and things aren't just working. So we decided enough was enough, and how it all started was the Manchester bombing, the terrorism.
Oh, he's getting worried now.
We cannot keep allowing all these extremists, from anyone,
getting bombed,
whether they be from Islam or whether they be from the National Front or wherever they're from. We're not having any extremists. We don't want extremists in this country.
The topic of
no, that's why we're here. That's how it started.
But your demonstrations about child abuse, not
about child abuse. But where does that come from? Where does it come from? It comes from extremism. Does it or does it not?
I don't know.
Well, I do know. It comes from extremism, from an ideology and a group of people. We're not racist. We're not against Muslims. No, but there is a problem with this, and it needs to be tackled and it needs to be eradicated.
The guys that they're talking about in there were people like Cyril Smith.
There's a lot of people involved in it.
But they were white and they were by no means political extremists.
But they are the ones that have covered it up. It's not just them. They're not the ones that have been involved in these grooming gangs. These grooming gangs, and I'll admit, I'll have my hands up.
Well, they were a grooming gang, weren't they?
Well, they were, but then there's other grooming gangs. 1,400 children raped, A 14-year-old goes into a police station and she finds they take 5 sets of DNA on the thing, and then she ends up being arrested, and then people walk on bail.
It's horrible.
You cannot walk on bail from a crime like that. Well, what is happening to the justice system in this country?
Dan, in that way, I probably agree.
We should agree.
But you mentioned the E word first, right? What would you say to people who may be watching this now are going to say, well, you're talking about extremism. Actually, are you not extremists yourself?
But how are we extremists? What, because we're protesting against corruption? Because we're protesting against cover-ups? We want what's best for our children, right? From whatever society you are from, that's what we want. Times have to change, We are not a faction that is against one set religion. We have Muslims in our group, We've got Sikhs in our group. We've got Jews in our group, We're not racist. We're not religious. What we want is change for the better, And if people want to stand with us, we're not interested what colour skin you are, At the end of the day, when we all bleed red. What we want is change. We want a fair place, right? We want the people that are involved in extremism jailing, or if they're not from this country, we want them deporting.
Accountability.
And that is from both sides. Okay. Both sides of the faction.
All right.
Whether you're involved with Islam,
we're going to have to get in
and
there.
Everything else, we want it stopping.
It's reassuring to hear all that, to be honest. But we're going to have to go in there and talk to the chief executive and try and put some difficult questions to him as well. But Dan,
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for
and
your
it's a pleasure to see the BBC here.
Hopefully
you'll prove, what we have a video in London. And the BBC camera crew there, and we spoke, said we're not going to wear it.
I really don't know what happened that day.
Well,
I can't apologise, but I can't explain it either. So
let's see. Right. Thank you very much for your time.
Right. So, can you tell me when's this due to be aired? Is it going to be aired?
Well, we never guarantee.
Yep.
That's one thing, because we never know what's going to happen this afternoon in terms of news. Something big happens, all bets are off.
But what's bigger? Can I just say though?
Potentially.
Can I just say, if you was a victim of this, what would be bigger to talk about?
So
I know, but it doesn't mean to say.
Our programme starts at 6 and goes on until 7 o'clock.
Right. So I know you've only got so much, but what I'm saying, the scape of what's gone on here, is there anything bigger to your mind?
Child abuse in any of its forms can never be excused, and it doesn't matter who commits it.
No,
it
doesn't matter what colour the skin
brown,
is.
Yellow, green.
Doesn't matter whether they're the MP for the town or somebody, I hate the phrase, but somebody much more lowly. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's just not acceptable at all.
Yeah, certainly.
Isn't that correct?
No, that's right. Totally agree with it.
We're agreed.
Yeah. Well, we are on some things, Tom. Thank you anyway for your time. Cheers, mate. Yeah. Well, What did you make of that, pal?
What did you make of that? Did you shake his head? I couldn't believe that.
He's paying lip service.
It is some, isn't it?
He's kind of brushing it
We
off.
pay for that bullshit. Do you know what I mean? We pay for that crap for our TV licenses.
You could see the look on his face when it got bombed then, because all them placards come behind and he was
You were
dying.
expecting to get him with a trigger word then or something to, I got you, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to make you look like you're the extremist here. And it's like, what?
So stopping your kids getting raped has been extreme there.
That's what I'm saying.
To me, do you know what I mean?
So he's talking about Russia, which we all know is a fake news story. But yet we're talking about systematic abuse that's going on in our country, and he's making it out as if, well, if something better comes up, you know, if some granny ends up falling over in a supermarket, we're going to put that before it. I mean, that's how it sounds, even though that's it didn't what he says. And that's just the frustrating part of it. He's obviously one of them. I mean, I walked up, Craig, and the first thing he done was went like this, brushed me to one side because I went to stand.
Because we want to stand in the shop.
What? But then he had the Streisand effect because, like, everyone come with the placards and thought, right, well, sod you, mate. And you could see him dying, but he was half, you know, in the middle of the interview, so he couldn't say nothing.
No, stop, you know what I mean?
So that makes you think that because of all that happening, and he's just said we don't make any guarantees. What's he telling you there, Craig?
Telling you that he's not going to wear it, basically. Do you know what I mean?
He's just paying freaking lip service.
3 girls, I bet they did not want to wear that, mate. I'm telling you. Are you all right? I believe we're going to the police station. As far as I know.
They're right up there. Look.
Who's listening to the report being given out?
I've no idea. I'm not sure, to be fair.
I don't know.
I've just started walking with the rest of them.
It was allowing 4 people in and
Oh, really?
yeah.
Would you want me to speak to... Do you want me to try and get over the skin or something? Or?
No, it's okay.
What are you doing then? Are you going back up there? Oh, he's there.
Well, that's eventful already. We've only just walked a couple of 100 yards.
I believe they said they weren't going to do that, though.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm still filming, from that.
We're just going to have a chat with you there.
Yeah, you can have it, mate, if you want.
Phil, let's hope the BBC report that one tonight.
Well, what did you make of that, Dan?
Well, to be fair, how that came about, how did it sound? I didn't say anything derogatory.
No, you were fair, you were balanced. I think he was trying to steer you as if you were the wrong one because you used one word called extremism. Yeah. So that was to make you look like you're the bad guy.
But that's what we're against.
Yep.
We are against extremism. Yeah. And just for the record, whether that be Islamic extremism, or extremism from the National Front or whatever, we don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take your extremism and go somewhere else. And then when he said about that, the reason why I got extremism in there is this is where it all originates from.
He couldn't get that.
Right? The grooming gangs originate from extremism.
It's an ideology that's going to the furthest degree.
But then he tried to turn it on groups of politicians. Are they extremists? Well, yeah, they are. They're raping children, the kiddie fiddlers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, look them up.
Yeah.
Whether they're white, black, pink, yellow,
all he was trying to
brown.
do there was play a game of semantics.
Yeah, well, it never worked, did it?
No. Well, you can tell. And then when I had a little chat after you spoke, mate, and he's...
Using my Uncle Cyril, are you?
I know, that's what
Oh,
he's going
Jesus. He was an establishment toff. I mean, do you see what happened when you were talking, Dan? I don't know whether you noticed that Justin tapped me and said, yeah, I'll go over and film them too. He's chatting to the BBC. So I went up, and the geezer who was chatting to you, he brushed me to one side.
I know,
soon as
I did notice.
And then I thought, all right, so I walked away and I said to the camera, right, he's just brushed me to one side because the camera probably didn't pick that up. And it was like other people behind picked up on it, and they all come behind you with the placards. Did you notice that? You probably didn't because you had your back to him.
I had my back to him and I was facing...
I seen his eyes, mate. He was dying. He did not want that to happen.
At the end of the day, right, it's about right and wrong, this.
Of course it is.
I mean, I'm not being funny, Phil. Yeah, look at colour of your skin.
Yep.
Right? I'm not bothered what colour your skin is.
Mate, and I'm just as pissed as you on this subject.
Exactly.
So
there are a lot of Muslims out there
Yep.
that don't want to be tarnished. That don't want to be tarnished with that brush.
Yeah.
And we need to fight their corner as well.
I know.
And we need to unify as one, right? And get this done. But to say that child grooming is not part of extremism, then yes, it is. That is where it starts from.
It's a mentality, which is an extremist mentality, no matter how you want to.
They're doing that extremism, they're getting in that way, and then they're planting seeds and they're growing, and it's all to do with Sharia law. Yeah, it's all to do with the ideology and the fundamentals of growing and having that takeover. That is what it is to do with. You can't keep hiding this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about racism.
Yeah.
It's not about religion.
Yeah.
It is not a religion, it is an ideology.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is what it is. Yeah.
It's like you're trying to say how significant this problem is, and he's trying to say how insignificant it is, and how really you're wrong to,
He's not the one, it's insignificant to him because he's not the one that daughters are being abused. He's not the one where his kids can't walk the streets. He's not the one that's suffering. Yeah, he's sat at the top of his tree having the money put on his table with his corrupt pals that are in the BBC and corrupt. We spoke to the BBC 4 times. Yeah, if they don't want to wear it, the proof is in the pudding. He says it's going to be on at 6:30 tonight. Well, the proof will be in the pudding and we'll see. And you've got it on video there, Phil. We'll see how much of it is edited to what I say. Yeah, because I'm not a racist, I'm not a fascist, I'm not extreme. It's right and wrong. I want what's right for this country. That's why I started this movement with regards to Veterans Against Terrorism a year ago. And then we've teamed up with the D.F.L.A. and now we're working together. So I'm going to hand you over to Justin, and let him put a few words over for you.
Well said anyway, Dan.
Put a few words over at any time after this. Do you know where we're going to go, Phil? We're going to go with Linda.
Yeah.
We've been interviewing with Jared. She's going to post this letter to Jim through the police station door. We're going to ask the police to come out and see if they'll talk to Linda and maybe explain why they've allowed some of these things to go on for all this time.
Yep.
And we're here today, Phil, myself, my good friend Dan here, and all these people that you can see here. Have a look at Rochdale, have a look at that's the War Memorial, mate. With all these people, we're all here today to get justice for people like Linda. Yeah, we promised her 2 weeks ago we'd come here, and we have come here.
Yeah.
25 years. 25 years Linda's been doing this.
We'll come to other towns.
We'll look up.
And we'll support other people in other towns.
Keep going, mate. Keep going.
Stick on your side.
Oh, right, okay. Nice one, mate.
Right, Phil.
All right, buddy.
Jim's going to go take the letter, so you should come with
Yeah. Oh, it's all happening. Not getting a minute to myself here, mate. Certainly busy.
This is the important bit. This is the bit where he's going to go hand the letter to the,
Right.
I think it's the chief constable,
Right.
superintendent, something like that. Like basically the same thing as they did at the council.
Yeah, Telford.
and Telford.
Yeah.
And the council office just now.
Yeah. So what do you reckon will happen? It'll be the same thing?
Probably the same as what we've seen in Telford last time.
Yeah.
What was that, a week ago now?
Yeah.
You know,
Just,
usual sort of blank responses. We'll get back to you.
well, was you there with the when
I
the
got there a
councillor?
little bit late, but I heard what he was saying at the end, and it was just all like...
He was terrible.
Yeah.
He was just stood there. Linda was telling him. Gerard was there telling him.
Yeah.
This chap here, I'm not sure of his name,
That's
was handing him.
Jim.
Jim was handing him the letter.
Yeah.
And he basically gave just like a little short statement and didn't want to go any further.
didn't want to
And you
answer
think,
questions,
Jay, that is the problem that we've got.
Yeah.
And that people are so seeing it now and they're getting sick of it.
Yeah.
I would prefer someone to hold their hands up and just say, you know what, don't just give me a little stupid apology. I want to see genuine remorse.
Exactly.
And I want to see accountability, and you're not giving me any of them
Not-
things.
Not at all. So we'll see what goes on now.
Indeed. Well, here we are, guys.
Slow down a bit then. Sorry, son, Linda.
Right,
Slow
oh,
down, we'll all get together, guys.
right. See, Red Pill Phil, guys. We're here in the centre of Rochdale. That's Rochdale Town Hall, do you believe?
Deliver this letter with Jim and ask these police officers if they've got anything to say about why they have let our children down and let the children of this town down.
Still letting our children down
To be honest, we're letting children down all over the country. We've got Jared Button here with us today. Jared's an interview kid, but Jared's come to support Linda as well and the people of this town. We're all here, Linda. Go and take that letter up there, mate.
Come on in, Linda.
When he just gives a statement, when he gives a statement, don't question it, put him under pressure.
We'll all gather here, not a problem, and then they'll come out and meet you. Right? Plenty of room here. Another tall one again.
Here we go.
Don't we
What's your name again? What's your name again? Sorry, are you going to be talking to us?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Niall Pawson.
Niall Pawson.
Excuse me, Dave.
Gerard, come through with Jim.
Right, Jim. This lady here, Jim, would you like to speak to Linda?
Linda,
Her
her family went through, obviously, historical sexual abuse on a day-to-day basis. Their child, obviously, the report has come out today. It's quite damning of the authorities' involvement. That's both from council, major government, social services, as it's called at the time, and your police force, sir. Yep. I'd like to hand this letter to you. This is mainly focused on what is still happening on your watch today. I haven't gone into specific detail, but there's a couple of allegations in there on what you guys need to be doing. We've got some issues as well with the cases you're putting forward to the Crown Prosecution Service that seem to go nowhere, and it all seems to be about this nasty little acronym, child sexual exploitation. We've got to stop calling it that, guys. We need to start looking at these kids, and they are children. It is rape. A child under the age of 16 cannot consent to somebody above the age of 16, and certainly not to grown men. I would like to ask, as I put in that today, Al Capone, they went after him as a mobster. They couldn't get him for being a mobster, so they got him on something else, tax evasion. So let's start looking at applying minors with alcohol. That is an offence, a criminal offence, and you'll attest to that. Applying them with prescription drugs, applying them with Class A drugs, and obviously the supply of Class A drugs. And this thing about consensual sex, it can't be, can it? I'd like that to be handed to Chief Superintendent Neil Evans. Neil Evans.
We'd also like to ask you about the bigger picture that's going on there, because this grooming towns, if you want to use that word, grooming, all over this country, there are towns that have been a victim, not people, not just people, towns that have been a victim of grooming gangs. It's going on, and more are going to come out. One of the main common denominators of all these things is Labour councils and the CPS failing to do their job. Look, even with yourselves, you'll probably realise yourself that the police put these cases up and the CPS keep bouncing them back. We want to know why the CPS are bouncing them back, who's giving the orders to bounce these things back, because the CPS and the police and the councils of this town are all supposed to be working to protect our children in all of these towns, and they've failed in their duty of care, and it's negligence, and we will be looking going forward to try and take a court case in anywhere we can about the failure of duty of care, the failure of negligence, the corruption today, and the corruption, because at the end of the day, the way I see this is organised crime. Yeah. Okay?
Done by political people.
You've got people going out there, grown adults going out there and procuring young children and putting them into the sex trade, and this is what this is.
Trafficking them as a commodity.
It's paedophilia and it's child rape, and they're trafficking these children from one town to another. The research that we've done shows that the children from Telford are turning up in Rochdale, and the children from Rochdale are turning up in Telford. We can prove this going forward.
Samwell,
all of these towns,
Oxford.
These children are being trafficked. And you need to do something about this, because it's going on your watch, and it's still happening today on your watch. And Linda would like to give you this piece of paper.
Can I ask you? Norman.
Mr. Paulson, thank you very much for taking the time to come to see us. Greatly appreciate that. And I'd like to endorse everything that's been said. One or two additional things. In the report that's come out today, it does accuse somebody of lying under oath. And that's a criminal accusation. Yeah. So what I think is, you could have all the inquiries in the world, and it's going to be a historical book of what happened. What we really want to look at is the things that have happened in the past, where criminal offences were committed. Why don't we go after the people who are still alive, who can still be pursued for criminal offences, and to come on about a couple of the things that were said. For example, in the Cyril Smith case, where on the Panorama programme it was said in London that police officers took him to a police station in Westminster where they were about to charge him and they were told they couldn't do it. And I know this may not necessarily be your area of jurisdiction, but we need to get to the bottom of, if people were given those orders not to prosecute, how was that actually lawful or legal? Were not you obliged to prosecute? And if you were told not to, who actually gave those orders and allowed this to happen? because that in itself is something that needs to be addressed. Let's follow it up the tree and find out where this corruption actually goes. And just to add to what my colleague there was saying about organised crime, we know that these things are being run out of fast food shops and minicab offices. That's money laundering. If somebody can be convicted on a fairly minor example of money laundering, these are major ones. This is organised crime, and if you can't get them on the sexual abuse things, surely there must be other criminal activities where possibly you could also work with Her Majesty's Tax Office to bring these about as well.
Can we also ask you, because while we're standing here today, we'd like to ask the British government, when are you going to have a national inquiry, public inquiry into what is going on in towns and cities all over this country? Because Theresa May, you're as guilty as the people that are doing this for allowing it to
covering it Hold on, let him have his say. Let him have his say. Quiet, please. Stop crowding in, just give a bit of space.
Thanks very much for that. You have brought quite a number of questions there which all sort of came through at the same time, so I'll do my best to give you a response in respect to that. Firstly, can I thank you for bringing this information to our hands and passing this letter today. I'll make sure that it does pass up to the Chief Superintendent as requested, the Commander for the territorial area. We will review what's in there and obviously we can see how that assists any previous inquiries and inquiries going forward. In respect of the national inquiry
will
today,
you back that?
Speak
will
up.
you back that?
Speak up, please.
Will you back the call
Sorry,
for a
I'm
national
facing this way. I
inquiry?
can't
We're all
turn it all the
listening.
time. Yeah.
Will you back that call for a national inquiry, please?
In respect to national inquiry, that will be a government decision, and they are going to have to make that.
Would you support
that decision
it?
At the point this moment in time, it's going to be a government decision. What we did do as GMP is we did support this independent inquiry.
You can request that though.
Well,
to the Home Office.
We supported the independent inquiry, which is why we're all here today. That has been released, and that is an independent inquiry. As GMP, we fully cooperated with that inquiry, and we're as interested as all the people here today and all the members of the public in finding out what the findings of that report was. As you do know, it was released at midday today, the inquiry itself. So, us as an organisation, we're in the same position as yourself. We have only just had sight of the outcomes from that. We will now have to reflect on the findings of that inquiry, and then we'll make decisions about how we take matters forward based upon that.
Will you make those decisions public to the people of Rochdale and the people of this country?
Ultimately, once we understand the findings of that inquiry and how it does link into investigations, decisions will be made at that point. What I do have to highlight is that, again, this is an independent inquiry, and this element is just one strand of a inquiry that's going on right across the country. So whilst it is recognised that this report is issued today, there are further investigations still being encountered and completed by the inquiry panel, and it's important that action is not taken at this moment in time that hampers the rest of that inquiry, and we need to be in a position where ultimately the inquiry will give recommendations and findings in respect to the full investigation, and then all organisations will be able to review that, see what the recommendations are and take matters forward at that point in time. What we do have to also recognise is that we do know about the victims in these cases. It's very important that they are supported and continue to be supported. We do work closely with our partners to provide ongoing support to victims of these investigations, and likewise with new investigations we make sure that we are really joined up now in a modern working partnership, sharing information to try to seek and achieve the best outcomes and support victims through this. In respect to the victims, though, again, it's really important to, even though this inquiry has come out today, we still have investigations running, and some of the questions that you are asking, we've got to make sure we don't put the victims in a difficult place and also undermine the investigations that are moving forward at this moment in time.
Can I ask you a question on licensing laws for taxi cab drivers? Obviously that's issued to the local council. Yeah. Once these taxi badges are issued, do you do any further investigations on these taxi drivers? Because there's two companies in Rochdale who we know we've got evidence against who are actually ferrying these girls around the towns. So does all those taxi drivers vetted properly, not just through the local council, but you as police officers?
The local authorities, as you mentioned, do have responsibility for vetting and issuing taxi licences. As I've already mentioned, we do work very closely with our partners in the local authority. Within safeguarding teams, we've all put additional resources into these teams to make sure we have good lines of communication, and we follow up any risk to young people or otherwise to manage that vulnerability.
Getting back to the Knoll View, my son was a pupil at Knoll View, and I've given evidence to Operation Cleopatra, Operation Clifton and Operation Jaguar, and each time I was told arrests are imminent. I've never heard of any arrests. Is there going to be the same now? Are we going to be able to expect some arrests? for these people who are lying under oath or complicit in the abuse knew about it and let it carry on to cover their own backs.
At the moment, as you mentioned, those investigations were done at that time. As always, with any investigation,
without an outcome.
If any information does come to light, so in respect to Operation Clifton, you mentioned that specifically. Again, we'll see what
and Cleopatra.
Yeah, those as well. We'll see what the findings from the inquiry do direct us ultimately, and recommendations that come out of that. If criminal offences are disclosed or reported to us, they will be fully investigated, irrespective of where they do come from.
Can I just say something? Yeah, the boot would be on a different foot, right? If it was a high-ranking police officer, or if it was a politician that this would happen to, they'd be arrested and this would be sorted now. That's fact. Yeah, and on that point now, we appreciate your time. There might be another couple of questions, but we're not leaving this. We need change. We back the police. We support the police. You're our front line. You're undercut, you're underpaid, right, and overstretched. And yet, why can't you support us?
And we're calling upon the government to make more funds available to the police and the security services so that you can better monitor potential terror threats. So we're in your corner and we're trying to get you money. But you help the people of Rochdale.
And we'll help you.
Right.
Help us.
Just tell you about, you know, it is really, sorry, can I just answer that one first, please? You are right, it's really important. We are working in a challenging environment, but we have got much more effective at working with our partners, sharing the required information, and getting the right teams around to put the right support in place. We've also invested further resources into carrying these investigations forward. So we are fully sighted on vulnerability being one of our #1 priorities. That is what we focus on. We're deploying our resources at this moment in time.
I think I've been told today that this is a historical thing and it's under control. Obviously that isn't true. So are there investigations going on about current cases at the moment, or are you saying it's a historical thing?
I'm not saying it's a historical thing. We have been historical cases which we are cited of, and we still do investigate historical cases when they are brought forward. Likewise, we still have investigations running at this moment in time. If a criminal matter is reported to us, we will investigate it.
But do you have police out on the ground now? Doing anything about what's happening now? Not talking about things that happened 8 years ago or 10 years ago.
I feel more right also, like I say, both ourselves, local authorities and key partners have put together specialist teams who investigate this nature of crime, provide wraparound support for the vulnerable victims, and we do take proactive operations in respect of following the investigation through and tracking down offenders, and also in respect of going disrupting activity where this may be happening.
Can you ask me one question, please?
Sorry. Yeah, just one more quick question. Just one question. Has political correctness put the rank and file of the police, turn them into, I'm sorry to say this, but cowards? Has it, the political correctness turned the police into cowards?
No, not at all. I would vehemently dispute that. You know, we are here to do a role. We're here to protect vulnerable people, and we will investigate everything to the best of our ability.
Can I ask you one question? How many of the police officers, right, in Rochdale work for the council? I'm led to believe, Linda.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it that you said to me, Linda?
There was an investigation being done by civilian staff.
How many civilian police officers work for the
We don't have
council?
Civilian police officers working directly for the council. We don't have police officers working directly for the council. You know, the police officers work for Greater Manchester Police, and in due course working for the Mayor of Greater Manchester. However, we do work closely with our partners. We do pool resources where available so that we can get the most effective response to support vulnerable people.
When you say our partners, can you define our partners?
There's local authority. We do have specialist providers around.
Specialist providers. Is this private security firms?
No, not at all.
Can you just elaborate on what our partners?
Be sure there's no private security firms, because I'm just in the process of putting a tender in for one. So
because we're led to believe
that's certainly something that's not.
That's what happens behind the scenes.
You appreciate that, you know, I have answered a lot of questions in the opening time. We are very busy. You know, I do have a day role to continue running this district. Can I thank you for bringing this information to our attention? And again, to appeal, you've highlighted the importance of communities working with the police and the way we work together, as you raise yourself, that flow of information, working together, highlighting where there is risk and vulnerability, that gives us our best opportunity to work together and deal with it.
Can I just say, sir, this is great you're coming out and doing this, and we're all really appreciating what you're doing, but this happened at Telford. We want to see more than just a geezer with nice little badges and lapels. We want to see action. Your words are great, but where's the action?
I can appreciate that. I can assure you there is action going ahead all the time in Rochdale, as I have already expressed, and across Greater Manchester and across our colleagues in other force areas. Again, can I just thank you for your time?
Okay, thank you.
Telford has released.
We will be back.
Fizzled out. Oh wow. Yeah. Well.
You're never going to get them.
No, they're too slick.
They're just going to tell you what they think you want to hear.
Yeah, everyone's just going to clap like seals, set the fish and go home. And it's like, come on. We're seeing this too often. Hello, mate. No, I haven't, pal, no. Right, can I just wrap this up and then, right, okay, so this is a long clip, guys. Okay, we've just been given the letter, the letters we've been given. Look, you can see in there that they're kind of, I don't know whether they come out, they say all the right things, and, you know, it looks very good optically because he's come out with his nice shiny uniform, but what difference is it actually doing? Is he actually doing anything? So that's what I want to see. I want to see real action here and not just coming out grandstanding as a celebrity. So when I start to see that, then I will start to see a system that's not appeasing, that's a system that actually wants to make a difference. So this is Red Pill Phil carrying on. There's more people to chat to. So it's been a long clip, guys, so sorry, but just kind of issues have run on concurrently on this, so I've not had a chance to stop it, which I am going to do now. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but there's going to be more content to come on this day, I would have thought. But I'll tell you what, I'm bloody freezing, guys. So this is Red Pill Phil. Like and subscribe. I love you all, even the pissing.